the most progressive generation, probably in the history of younger generation in the history of this country. It has led the fight against racism, against sexism, against homophobia, led the fight to transform our energy system, take on climate change. That's what this younger generation has done. But there's something else about this younger generation. They vote in significantly lower numbers than older people do. So all I would say is if you are concerned about democracy, if you're concerned about women's rights, if you're concerned about climate change, if you're concerned about economic justice and the need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, the need to get big money out of politics, the need to guarantee health care to all people as a human right, you can't sit out the election. You got to participate. So I hope we defy the experts and we see a very high turnout among younger people, and I hope people have the wisdom to vote for Kamala. So that's my speech. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. We really appreciate it. I understand that now you're going to give us an opportunity. We can ask you some questions. Is that right?
Fire
well, thank
away.
you. Thank you so much. Well, look, Senator Sanders, and I'm going to say this out to the audience. If you have a question for Senator Sanders, please feel free to put in the chat. If we're able to pull it out, we'll go ahead and ask it. Senator Sanders, I'd like to start off by asking something that is near and dear to a lot of the folks that are watching today. Our community, a lot of communities across the website have been calling for a ceasefire and an end to Israel's actions in Gaza, and I understand you share this position as well. A lot of folks have been opposed to the Biden-Harris administration's military and financial support of Israel. We know that you've been opposed as well, but you're supporting the ticket. So we want to know, can you talk about why you're supporting her, given your opposition to the Gaza stance?
All right. That's a very important question. Thanks for asking. So let me back it up a little bit. A year ago, October 7th, Hamas, which is a terrible terrorist organization, waged a horrific attack against Israel, killed 1,200 innocent men, women, and children, took several hundred hostages. In my view, Israel, like any other country, had the right to defend itself against Hamas. But what it did not have the right to do is go to war against the entire Palestinian people. And that is what Israel, under a very right-wing government led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, that is what they have done. The result of that all-out war against the Palestinian people in Gaza has been killing 42,000 people out of a population of 2.2 million, 2/3 of whom are women, children, and the elderly. They have wounded, injured over 100,000, again, 2/3 women, children, and the elderly. They have destroyed the healthcare system in Gaza. They have bombed every university in Gaza, destroyed the infrastructure in Gaza, destroyed about 60% of the housing in Gaza, displaced people, driven them here, there, and elsewhere. And now, as bad as that is, what is even worse, as a result of Israel under Netanyahu blocking humanitarian aid, today we're looking at thousands and thousands of children suffering from malnutrition and facing starvation. Now, as it happens, that is grossly immoral, unacceptable, and it is against the law. The United States of America, by law, cannot be funding a government which is denying humanitarian aid to civilians. So what we are doing right now is illegal, in my view, and that's why, I have fought against financial aid, military aid to the Israeli government for offensive weapons. They have a right to defend themselves for offensive weapons, and why, when Congress reconvenes after the election, I will have the resolution. It's called a joint resolution of disapproval, where we will have a vote to deny Israel being able to buy U.S. military equipment. So, I agree very much with people who are terribly concerned about what's going on there. Now, the Biden administration, I was just with the president today. I think on domestic issues, he has been very, very strong. I think on this issue, he is dead wrong. And I have talked to him over and over again. But all I would say to people say, well, I can't vote for Harris because I disagree with her on Israel and Gaza. Trump on even this issue is worse. He is worse. He is more pro-Netanyahu than Biden and Harris are. When it comes to humanitarian aid, feeding starving children, we can't get any Republican support in the United States Senate. So if we elect Harris, what you have my word on is I'm going to do everything I can to turn that view.
Look at these kids. This is Pokemon down here. I don't know who this one is, or I guess I don't know who these people are. They're from Twitch.
And it's minimum wage. And you and I both know that the minimum wage has not been increased, the federal minimum wage has not been increased in quite some time. Can you talk about how improving or increasing the minimum wage would help improve people's lives?
Well, listen, that's a very, very
No,
good
it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
And I want everybody to hear this because it's not talked about terribly much in the corporate media.
Need to lower the
But the
cost
reality
of
is
living.
today we have more income and
You
wealth
fucking
inequality
morons.
than we have ever had in the history of this country. People on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60 million people are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. I think many of your viewers are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, to pay for food, to pay for healthcare. And it is an extremely stressful life. In the midst of that, as you have indicated, the minimum wage has not been raised for a very, very long time. And today it is an embarrassingly low $7.25 an hour. What we have got to do, among many other things, is raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Okay, and I've introduced the legislation in the Senate to do that. In my own perspective, my own view is that minimum wage should be at least $17 an hour. Because you have now, it's not that you have so many people working for $7.25 an hour, but you have millions of people working for $9, $10, $12 an hour. And you tell me, whether you're in New York City or in rural America, you can't make it on $12 an hour. You just can't. So it seems to me that if people are going to work 40 hours a week, they should not be living in poverty. Now, the difference here, you may have seen the other day, Donald Trump was in McDonald's doing what he was doing,
Yes.
flipping hamburgers or whatever he was doing.
Yep.
And a reporter said to him, Mr. Trump, what's your view on the minimum wage? And then he completely ducked the question because he doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage. He talked about how great McDonald's workers are. Truth is, you got thousands of McDonald's workers and millions of other workers trying to get by 12, 13, 14 bucks an hour. I believe we should raise the minimum wage to 17 bucks an hour. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour. If you raise it to 15 bucks an hour, not enough for me, but a good start, we can help the lives of millions and millions of working people. Trump does not believe we should raise the minimum wage. Kamala, 15 bucks an hour, at least, is what I think she said. So we're going to work on her to get it even higher than that. That's a real difference between the two candidates.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your answer. Right now, Senator, we have a YouTuber that's going to be a guest, and they'd like to ask you a question. Their name is Kamal Was Taken. Kamal, are you with us? There we are. There they are. Hey, Kamal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Senator Sanders is here for you, and he's eager to answer your question.
Okay. Am I on camera?
You are. We see you perfectly.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
Hi,
you're good.
Senator Sanders. Sanders, first off, thank you so much for doing this. My hand is literally shaking. I'm talking to a celebrity. Obviously, Donald Trump has a lot of weirdo billionaire backers. People like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mr. Dark Mag himself. I have a lot of family who are strong Trump supporters, but also care deeply about things like Social Security. So what would you tell my family to convince them that Trump's plans of all these tax cuts for billionaires, how would you convince them that this is actually not in their best interest?
When Trump was president, I think if he were on the show, he would tell you that his proudest achievement was the tax cuts that he implemented.
Right.
And they were huge. 83% of them went to the top 1%.
Right.
But Kamal, I am guessing that your family, maybe I'm wrong, is probably not in the top 1%.
They're definitely not. The definition of middle class.
Okay. So we don't need, at a time when the rich are doing phenomenally well, more tax breaks for the rich. What do we need? We need to strengthen Social Security. I believe, that we should expand Social Security benefits. What I will tell you is that 80% of the Republicans in the House of Representatives think we should cut Social Security. They think we should move to the privatization of Medicare. So if you believe that we should keep Medicare and Social Security strong, I do not think it's wise to be voting for Donald Trump. If you think we should raise the minimum wage, you should not be voting for Trump. If you believe that health care is a human right, when Trump was president, he tried to end the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm not a great fan of the Affordable Care Act, but it is providing health care to millions of Americans. I think we got to move to Medicare for all. But please tell your family that Trump's main concern is protecting the interest of the billionaire class. He could care less about the middle class.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I will relay the message. I hope it
Okay.
works.
Thanks very much, Jamal. Take care.
Thank you, Kamal. I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator Sanders. I believe we do have some other guests that are ready to ask some questions, but I'll ask a question here on a different topic, and it's one that you're very familiar with and you've been fighting for quite some time, and we collectively thank you for that. How do you feel about the current state of healthcare? Do you think? Do you think everyone has access to the care they need, or is more change necessary? I mean, I think we know the answer, but yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that question, because again, it is not discussed very much in the corporate media or in the halls of Congress. Under Obama, we passed the Affordable Care Act, which expanded coverage to a whole lot of people, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't get to the root of our problem right now. I don't know how many of the viewers know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. Do you all know that? I am right now in Burlington, Vermont, 50 miles away from the Canadian border. If you go up to Canada, a country very much like the United States, since the 1970s, they have had a system in which if you end up in the hospital for 2 weeks, you don't come out with a $100,000 bill or whatever. There is no bill. It is publicly funded. They spend half as much per person as we do. Because, let me ask you this. Anyone want to jump in? What is the function of the American healthcare system? Is it to provide quality care to all people? Or is it to make, what do you think it is, Austin?
I mean, I would assume it's a for-profit industry for health insurance companies.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And here's the result. The result is the pharmaceutical industry makes tens and tens of billions of dollars a year, charging us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Now, by the way, on the Biden and Harris, and I just did an event with the president in Concord, New Hampshire today, we have made some progress in lowering the cost of prescription drugs, made some real progress. But we still pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Our system is designed to make profits not only for the drug companies, but the insurance companies as well. That's what the system is about, and it's working. But meanwhile, we have 85 million people uninsured or underinsured, and I suspect many of the viewers today may have health insurance, but they have deductibles of $5,000, $10,000, and they can't afford to go to the doctor because they don't have the money to pay out of pocket. So the bottom line here is the current system is broken, it is dysfunctional, it is cruel. 60,000 people a year die because they don't get to a doctor when they should. So my own view is we should look at the rest of the industrialized world. They manage to guarantee healthcare to all as a human right. We should do the same. I'm leading the effort on what we call Medicare for all, to expand Medicare, not just to the elderly, but to every man, woman, and child in this country.
It's insane to me that we live in the United States of America. This is a state of our healthcare. I went to an emergency room, Senator Sanders, in Florida, had a minor procedure done, $10,000 bill, surprise medical bill. It happens to folks, I'm sure, every single day. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Austin, you know what the story is?
Mm.
You say that, and people say, "Oh my God, I don't feel well. I need to go to the emergency room." I'm not going to
Yes.
go to the emergency room.
Yes.
I'm not even going to get on an ambulance because it could cost me a couple of $1,000. It
Yes.
is an insane system. It
Yes.
is a cruel. Give you one other fact on this. You're getting me going here. We can go
No,
on for 2
it's
hours.
okay. It's okay.
All right. I want you to hear this. You know, somebody comes down with cancer. Think about it. You're fighting for your life. You don't know if you're going to live or not. Turns out that 25% of the people who have cancer treatment, have had cancer treatment, either go bankrupt or deplete their family's financial resources. So you're struggling with cancer, you're dealing with chemotherapy, you don't know whether you're going to live or die, blah, 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 blah. And then you got to worry about whether your family is going to be financially ruined. For what? Because you came down with a terrible disease. It is vulgar, it is disgusting, it is not worthy of the wealthiest nation on earth. So, you know, you got Trump out there who, when he was president, tried to kill the Affordable Care Act, make a bad situation worse. Kamala is going to protect that, at least. She's going to lower the cost of prescription drugs, major problem. But overall, we have got to continue the effort to make sure that every man, woman, and child in this country has health care as a human right and not a system which
Hey, Limey, how you doing,
allows
brother?
for huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much. We have another guest here to ask, I believe, one final question for you. His name is Mark Hamill. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. We're all huge fans. And I understand you have a question for Senator Sanders.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a great honor to meet Senator Sanders, someone who I've followed all my adult life, and I'm grateful for his service. Now, when it comes to the question, I'm sure we all saw the stunt that Trump pulled yesterday at a closed restaurant with
He mentioned that,
people
Mark.
hired to play customers and work at McDonald's. I noticed when he was asked whether they should raise the minimum wage in regards to workers like that in fast food restaurants, he avoided the question entirely. Didn't even attempt to answer it. Now, the minimum wage hasn't been raised in decades. You probably know better than I think. Maybe 2000.
Oh, I do. Yep.
Okay. Well, basically, I just want to hear your thoughts on all that I just put forward.
Okay, you know, very briefly, we talked about it a moment ago, but bottom line is you're quite right, Mark. Trump ducked the issue, despite the fact that there are thousands of McDonald's workers trying to get by on 12 or 13 bucks an hour and millions of American workers. All right, Trump does not believe that we should raise the federal minimum wage, which is now $7.25 an hour. That's horrific. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour, which means that many millions of workers will get a substantial pay raise. So it is a very, very important issue, and one that, you know, I feel passionately about. I happen to believe the minimum wage should be at least 17 bucks an hour. Kamala thinks at least 15. We will discuss that, but at least
Lower.
we have got to
None of
raise
these
that
people, as much
to
as I
a
love
livable
Bernie, as
wage
much as I love
and not
all
have
this.
Trump's position that leaves it at 7.25.
Thank you. And I personally
They
worked
got it
at
wrong.
McDonald's. I've never put it on my resume, but it was interesting because when I first worked at McDonald's, I was living at home, and it was just pure profit. Fast forward to working at Jack in the Box when I was in my first year of college, and I couldn't live on that then. That was 50 years ago. So
That's right.
it's just
And people can't. And by the way, they can't if they don't get the health insurance they get. It's pathetic as well.
exactly.
No, it is. Look, it's an embarrassment that you have a so-called billionaire like Trump who doesn't think that we should raise the minimum wage above 7.25 an hour. All right. With that, Austin, I think I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, sure.
But listen, thank you all very much for what you're doing, guys. This is an enormously important election. Let's get everybody out to vote. Let's win this thing for Kamala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your
Bye, it was
time.
nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Senator. Thank you. Well, that was amazing. Mark, do you have
Oh
a
my
few
God, I
moments
miss
to
him.
sit and chat with us?
Sure. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Hi, Mark.
Well, Mark, is this your first time on Twitch?
I think so. I
Well,
don't even-
welcome. Give him a round of applause.
God.
There's a lot of people
Hello.
watching right now.
So,
Do you
Um,
play Fortnite by any chance?
what? No,
Oh,
I'm
good
gonna
Lord.
go do a fundraiser for Democrats
That's
with
amazing.
gamers,
oh.
gamers, and I have to tell them in advance.
We love you.
I haven't played games since my kids were small. So
Aww.
I know, it's terrible. But I mean, it's the same with Star Wars. I haven't seen those movies since they first came out. I don't go back and watch them again. So
Yeah.
these people will come up to me and ask me these questions, and they've seen those movies far more times than I have, far more recently than I have. And they play the games, they read the comics, they read the novels. You know, one guy was saying to me, when you went to the Wookiees' home planet, I said, wait a minute, did we go to the Wookiees' home planet? Well, it wasn't in a movie, it was in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Oh, it's a novel by Harry Dean Foster. Again, I mean, I disappoint fans because they know more about it than I do.
No, you're never a disappointment. Also, if you ever want to learn, it would be easy. So just know it's always at your disposal, you know?
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Oh. Mark, again,
Yeah,
it's
that's
amazing.
nice.
So
That's
you're doing a
pretty fair.
fundraiser. Where are you doing the fundraiser at?
Well, I've been accepting any Zoom
Sure.
that they request. So I've done it for Colin Allred and Ruben Gallego and Gloria Johnson, Debbie Mucarsel Powell, Josh Stein, Whitney Fox, and on and on and on and on and on. Because
Mhm.
I feel like that's the least I can do. I mean, I can't always travel to the state, but I can certainly come in the dining room and give them a couple of hours on my computer. So
Sure.
I don't know. It's coming up. My wife's not here right now, but she'll remind me. It's, I think, this coming week. But
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Mark, look, I know, I know your time is
This
precious.
kid's
I just want to ask
struggling.
you just a couple of quick questions. Obviously, we're all here for the same reason. We want to get people out to vote for Kamala Harris. What policy issue is really driving you to the polls? What's something that's really most important to you?
Oh, this is so hard to watch.
First of all, I just want to compliment the names of these people, Valkyrie and Pokimane. Those are, is that your?
Oh, yeah, those are
It's an
usernames.
absolute honor to
What
hear
about
you
that?
utter that name. Thank you so much, sir.
Nice to meet
see.
you.
Do I need to pay you for that? Because I will.
Wow. I got like
That's
jump
not the
scared.
name- That's not the name
Oh.
on your birth certificate,
No,
right?
no.
No,
It's
no,
just
no.
a username.
Austin Show
Listen,
is on my birth certificate.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Very good.
He was born to be a star, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
there's the one main issue for me is preserving democracy,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes, sir.
it's democracy versus autocracy. He tells you what he's going to do. I mean, Google Project 2025 is absolutely horrifying. Getting rid of the Department of Education and firing 50,000 civil servants who are nonpartisan to install loyalists. It's weird. I mean,
It's weird. Yes.
well, there's a reason he admires Viktor Orban, because he wants to do what Viktor Orban did, which was get elected democratically, then disassemble the media and put loyalists in across the board and transform into a dictator. It's really scary.
Mhm.
The stakes are just couldn't be higher. And I have a good feeling about this, because I do believe there are more good, decent people that realize what a charlatan and a villain he is. Probably the worst thing that's ever happened to this country was electing this game show host with no, when he first got in, I thought, because I lived in New York when I was doing theater for 17 years, and I said, well, he has no moral convictions about anything.
No.
He could surprise us and be really good on climate change, or, no. Once he realized that, it's the way he got into politics. When he started pushing the birther lies about Obama not being born in America, he got a great reaction. So he realized the easiest path to success is through these extremists who are and appealing to all the darkest elements in human nature, anger, resentment, racism, big. Let's figure. I mean,
Mhm.
the Obama lie is birtherism. He's just vile in
Mhm.
every respect.
Yes. Yes.
I actually have a question, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Pokey.
Sure.
As you said, there are so many issues at stake right now. And I actually wanted to ask this to Bernie as well. But since he had to run, I'll ask you instead. Are there any resources that you could recommend for voters who want to get more informed? Anything you suggest?
Well, the simplest thing, and I always tell my kids to tell their kids to tell their friends to tell their friends, iwillvote.com. It's so simple. You go to iwillvote.com, and within 60 seconds, you can be registered. You can figure out where you can go to physically vote, how to get mail-in ballots. That's one of the easiest ways to get knowledgeable about that.
Austin, I think that's a good question for you too, because I feel like, over the last 48 hours, all of this coming together, I've come to learn how much you know. Like, you're so knowledgeable on politics.
Me? You talking to
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. Are there any resources you would suggest for people as well?
Look, I mean, I think it's important to understand, in social media is a nightmare. Mark, I don't know if you're on social media. It is crazy. It's chaotic. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm on Twitter, which
Uh,
I do myself, and
Sure.
then my daughter Chelsea repurposes my Twitter for Instagram.
Sure.
I quit Facebook
That's so
in
nice of her.
protest. I quit Facebook in 2016 in protest of the way they handled
Yep.
Hillary. It just pissed me off. I mean,
Yep.
obviously no one cares, but I'm looking for I loathe Elon Musk so much now.
Oh,
I'm
me too.
I'm looking for a reason to get off
Yeah.
Twitter, and if I
All of
do,
us are. Yeah.
yeah, well, if I get off Twitter, I'm not going to do social media anymore.
Well, no,
You know?
yeah. We're all looking for an escape.
Yeah.
From X or whatever they call it now. I still call it Twitter. But I would
Everyone calls it
yeah,
Twitter. Everyone calls it
yeah,
Twitter.
exactly.
As I tweeted, I said, you could. What if he bought Coca-Cola and decided to call it Flurbu Goo Goo Goo? No one would call it Flurbu
No.
Goo Goo. They call it Coke.
And
Exactly.
we still
Like always.
don't. We still
That was
don't.
the
Tell
first
them.
idiotic thing he did was try and
No.
change things. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We tweet. We don't excrete.
Yeah, no, yeah, he made it sound like a whole different website when he made that change. And look, what I was going to say about Twitter, Mark, and you could probably attest to this, and all of us can attest to this since you're on it, is my advice to people would be, you're stuck in an algorithm, okay? You're stuck in an algorithm, and often you're stuck in a feedback loop of sometimes a lot of negative information, all right? It's not a real place. So my advice to people would be, number one, put your head down. Don't let it stress you out on day to day, and get out and vote. I mean, you have the privilege to get out and vote, and that's why we're here. ! Vote in the chat. There's a lot of resources there to help guide you. It's really important, but because I've been really stressed out. I think a lot of us are stressed out in this election cycle in particular because of what's at stake. And I've found comfort in just understanding that I have a good feeling about this. We've got. I agree with you, Mark. There's a lot of decent people, and I think it represents a large majority in this country that are going to go out and vote for this ticket. And I think that we've got a great opportunity to win.
Well, the fact that he could even be renominated after January 6th just blows my mind.
I know.
It's just the list of crimes he's committed, the stolen documents, the fake electors, and on and on and on. You don't need to go through it all, but I'm old enough to remember when Gary Hart's campaign was upended because he was sitting. There was a photo with him sitting with a woman who wasn't his wife sitting on his lap. This guy. We can't find his kryptonite because whatever he does, there is no more Republican Party. Let's be clear about that. There's an extremist MAGA cult of personality.
Yep.
They believe whatever he says, no matter what. I mean, it's laughable when he's up in arms over Kamala lying about working at McDonald's. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The Washington Post said he lied 33,000 plus times just 4 years in office. God knows how many times he's lied since then. I mean, everything that comes out of his mouth, basically.
Yep. Yeah. No. Everything. And And it's crazy. And you mentioned the old Republican Party, which, you know, I still, there's still a lot of problems with the old Republican Party, but this was a party that would talk often about decency. This is a party that when Obama was president, they would criticize him for wearing a tan suit. Okay. You remember this? He shows up in a tan suit to a press conference. And this is the same Republican Party that doesn't bat an eye when Trump gets on his podium and talks about Arnold Palmer's penis. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's insane. It's ludicrous.
Now, the enablers are shocking. Of Franklin Graham, they printed his quote about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky side by side with what he said about Trump. And of course, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. One is, this is outrageous that he would lie to his wife. If he would lie to his wife, why wouldn't he lie to the public? That's, you know. And then Trump, he marches to his own drummer. It's his own private life. We shouldn't be concerned with what he does in private. And they're all hypocrites. I mean, the one thing that's interesting is the amazing amount of Republicans who put country over party. I mean, the obvious one, like the Cheneys and Adam Kinzinger and so forth. But I mean, Kamala had an event the other day where there were over 100 Republicans. I mean, the problem is most Republicans in office probably loathe them as much as we do, but they're indebted to their districts. I mean, if they're in districts that support them, they can't publicly say that. But I have a feeling, I mean, I said this when, look what happened in the midterms in 2022. There's going to be a huge red wave.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're going to gain 40 seats. When they overturned Dobbs, it wasn't even a red trickle. It was, I think they gained 2 seats when they were expecting 40. And I think they've unleashed, awoken a sleeping giant. When you take away a right that a woman has had for over 50 years to have control over her own body without the government telling her what to do, it's an outrage. And I think that's what they're not polling, because apparently there was, after Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and all these people, there was something like almost 1 million, like 800,000 plus new registered women between the ages of 18 and 35. And none of them were polled because they only polled people that voted in the last election. That's why I don't like saying this, because I don't want people to get complacent. I think she's going to beat him by a bigger margin than Biden did. And Biden beat him by 7 million. Don't get me started on the Electoral College. If it weren't for the Electoral College, Gore beat W by 500,000 votes. Hillary beat him by nearly 3 million, like 2,875,000, whatever. I loathe the Electoral College just because in my lifetime, if it weren't for W, we wouldn't have had the war in Iraq that they lied us into. And look at the history of the Electoral College. It was created in the Civil War to give slave owners more say in the elections. So it's rooted in the worst elements of American history. So I'd love to get rid of the Electoral College and Citizens United, which they passed in 2020, that ruled that corporations are people, so they can give unlimited funds. I mean, our politics were already corrupted by money before that. Now you can have a handful of billionaires that can give unlimited money. It's disgraceful. And I made those, you know, I lived in England a long time making those space movies. And I was there during an election of prime minister. You know how they do it? It's 6 weeks from start to finish. The government gives each candidate the same amount of money to spend, and you're not allowed to have outside money. It is breathtaking because it's so pure. It's so pure, and they don't have the barrage of TV commercials. It's just not the same as here, but it's all issues oriented, and it's over in a month and a half. As soon as whoever gets elected on November 5th, the campaign for 2028 starts the next day. It's repulsive.
No, absolutely. No, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's very useful information for a lot of us that we all agree with. Look, I was gonna put, mentioned something that you said, and it kind of went back to what I said earlier. The polling is all over the place. I mean, it's all over the place. And if you really look at, you mentioned something that's really important. They don't know. They're all, because they're so afraid. A lot of these pollsters are so afraid with what they did in 2016 that I believe that they're overestimating a lot of things, which, evidence of that would be what happened in the 2022 midterms, where there was supposed to be this huge red wave, and it never ever materialized.
Yeah. Well, has anybody? I've never been polled by anyone, and I'm 73.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah,
those
no,
years, no one's
neither
ever
have I.
called. Okay,
And
and
I'm
if
30.
if I get a phone call on my phone that I don't recognize, I don't pick it up.
Yeah.
Ever.
No,
So,
me
I
neither.
mean,
And yeah.
I
Do
mean,
you guys?
ask your,
Yeah.
ask your friend. Look, the media.
No,
has
me
a
neither.
Yeah.
The media has a vested interest in making it a horse race, because then we're addicted to whatever, whether CNN or MSNBC or Fox propaganda station. They want a tight race because that gets eyeballs. So I don't pay any attention to the polls. I think it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Don't believe them.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's not going to help anybody win. What wins elections are people that go out and vote, and real
Exactly.
data that show. I mean, and like I said, I don't know if you dug into the early data too much, but it looks promising. I'd rather be us than them. Let's just say that at this point in the election, it does look very, very good. Okay, I want to open it up to. And I know I think we're gonna let you go, Mark. We appreciate you've been here for quite some time with us, and we appreciate it. Is there any last questions that you guys would like to ask Mark on the way out?
Yeah, listen, I'm not in a rush. I'll take whatever question you want. I'm going to adjust my light here. I look too bright.
Sure. No, you're great.
Oh, he's changing his light. Oh my God, look,
What'd you say, Second? Oh yeah, he's
I got a
there.
question
Oh,
unrelated to
he's puking.
He is.
He's throwing up.
Oh, Mr. Mark,
No, he's
Yes.
adjusting his
do you
lighting.
know what a VTuber is?
A VTuber?
Uh-huh.
No, but I'm guessing V stands for video, so it must have to do with gaming.
Yep, it's
Yeah,
close.
kind of like that.
I thought it was
but just
virtual.
curious.
Well.
You should tell him, Psych. A VTuber is this character that you see, the guy with the
That's
black
me.
hair. He's moving his head and talking a little and blinking. So
Okay.
it's like a person, and you capture their facial movements, and then you put a character on top. So instead of
Okay.
showing your face, you can show the little character.
Yes, like Sakuno, who looks like a cat.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, like
Oh my
Sakuna,
God,
who
yeah,
looks like a
that's
cat.
me.
Exactly that.
Kuno the cat.
Yeah, it's like good to the cat.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, I do have okay. So I've been, Mark, I know this isn't related to the, we'll get back on topic here, but I have to ask you this question. My friend Will Neff is a huge fan, and he's also a big time Twitch streamer. When are we going to get to hear you voice the Joker again?
Well, what happened was Kevin Conroy passed away, and he was my Batman since we started, 92, 93. And, there were dormant periods where we didn't. Then we came back and did the Arkham Asylum games. By the way, each one of those games made more than $1 billion. I mean, it's shocking, but I mean, I wish I had movies that all did that. We did those three, and I just loved him so deeply, like a brother. I just figured, the gods are telling me something. It was my Batman, and it's time to step down. So, I mean, to be honest with you, nobody's asked me to do it since, but maybe it's because when I tweeted about Kevin's passing, I just said that, without, as Joker once said, without Batman, crime has no punchline.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was good.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
that
was awesome.
That's a good time to leave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. That
So
was
nice
Yeah.
to meet you, Mark.
Mark,
Take
thank
care.
you so much for your time. And
Thanks, everyone.
we appreciate
I don't even want to watch the rest of that. if y'all can't find that funny, I don't know what to fucking tell you. That's about the funniest thing I've seen in a long fucking time. And they're kids, so I know, you know, they think you're all good with their own fucking shit, but and they meet him, and it's just like they all go to shit. Oh, I'm doing something. Anyway, I wanted to show that because I found it, and well, there it is. Talk to y'all later. That was funny. Watch it again. Weirdos. Love you.